Hey y'all, I'm Derek and welcome back to 31 Nights of Found Horror. So last time we had a pretty decent film, a weird one, but it was still a film. So let's see if we can keep this momentum going with some good movies. So this one is called The House on Mansfield Street. And don't worry, I'll link it down below so you can watch it too if you want to after this. I don't know what to expect. So, let's get started. That was a movie. Okay, so it starts off with our main guy. He's leaving his old house in London and he's going to move to Nottingham. Nottingham! He'll see the sheriff! And while he's there, he's going to create a personal documentary in order to explain his transition from London to Nottingham. So he's setting up cameras all over his house. And while he's doing this, his neighbor, Emma, shows up so that we can get some world building. So they're talking about the former tenant and all that and blah, blah, blah. And then she hands him a good luck charm. Okay. So Emma leaves and then he goes upstairs, and apparently he has a split-screen GoPro, one that faces him and one that faces out at the same time. I didn't know those existed. And he hears something in the attic. So he goes and lifts up the attic and he finds one of the same good luck charms. At that moment, I would have thrown both of them out, but he only throws the old one out. Why? For continuity. And then he explains exactly what just happened in the movie. I hate it when this happens. It just literally slogs down the movie. And he does it numerous times. Whenever anything happens in this movie, he explains it later on. Or like right after it happens. He always explains. He's like, well, we just went upstairs and we heard a sound, but there was nothing there. We looked in the attic and there was a good luck charm like the one Emma just gave me. And I thought that was weird, but I threw it into the bin. As you do. The next day, he decides to take a walk around Nottingham to show everybody the city. And he's literally filming on a bus, and all I can think is, oh great, another vlogger. Ugh. And while he's walking, we get the notification that he got a package. So he goes home to get the package, and it becomes an unboxing video. It turns out he has this thing that can turn his GoPro into a security system. Yay! That was so important. Actually, it was important to the story, but it was just like, okay. Then he hears something upstairs again. And so he goes up there, finds nothing, and then he explains everything that he has done up to this point yet again. You see a pattern coming along? After he gets the GoPro out, he goes and looks on his computer and he finds a video file of someone filming him going into his house. And he's like, where did this come from? But then he hears sound upstairs and he goes upstairs and nothing's there. And then of course, what does he do? He talks about what he just did. Ugh. It slows everything down when he does this. Movies are show, don't tell. Show us, don't tell us, and then don't explain what we just saw. So it's nighttime now. It's 3 a.m. in the morning. There's a lot of night shots and it's always at 3 a.m. so I'll just go ahead and say that because, you know, that's scary. He hears a noise and he goes down and he checks his door. Nothing's there. And so he goes back to bed and he explains what he just did again. Good God, every time he turns to the camera and explains exactly what he did before, take a shot, people. And then he just goes to bed. Scene accomplished. Yay. Yay. So then the next morning he sees barefoot footprints in the snow outside his door, which is actually really creepy until he explains what we just saw again. He was going to go out and see the city of Nottingham again, but there's too much snow on the ground and public transit has shut down, so he's basically stuck in the cottage. Nothing really happens. He goes to sleep. At 3 a.m. he hears another noise. We start seeing a pattern here, don't we? The next day, it's stopped snowing, but it's far too cold to go outside, so he's stuck in there again. Yay! Such first world problems. Oh my God, there's no heating outside. Okay, so I actually wrote this. It goes to night vision again, and I'm like, Third night, 3 a.m. 3 a.m. called it! Because he makes it a note to point out that it's always 3 a.m. And he has this dream that someone's watching him while he's sleeping. And then he falls asleep again. And when he's sleeping, he's moving around. The medic in me just immediately goes, oh, he's a fighter. Because that's what you call somebody who tosses and turns in the patient's bed, a fighter. It's a little inside joke. When he's asleep, all of a sudden the door opens and there's a masked person in a hoodie looking over him. But the footage keeps cutting out. And honestly, while I was watching this, all I could think of was, the Phantom of the Hooded Sweater's here to watch you sleep. I know. I'm stupid, I know, but it tickled me. So the next morning, he looks at the footage and can't believe what he sees. He decides that the camera must be faulty and created the image of the Phantom of the Hoodie. Because, you know, cameras can do that. So then, he hears another noise and he goes to see it and he doesn't see anything. You have to remember, he set his house up so that there's cameras all over the place, but he never checks them. He only checks the handheld one he carries with him all the time. Why? Check all the cameras. So the next night, he sets up a night vision camera in the corner of the room so that he can see the entire room while he's asleep, and he goes to sleep. Like, immediately to sleep. I've never seen someone go to sleep so quickly. And he's fighting again. So I guess when he's fighting, he's having the bad dream, like a dog running. Then the door miraculously opens because it wasn't really shut all the way to begin with. And we hear voices, and then the door closes again. The nightlight goes on, and we hear a noise. That wakes up our guy. He explains he had the dream again. And all I could think of was, you went into REM sleep that quickly? Must be nice. It takes a good 30 minutes of me relaxing in bed before I actually pass out, so good on you. Maybe I'm just weird. Huh. I never thought of that. Anyways, and he goes downstairs, and the nightlight he usually has at the top of the stairs is down at the bottom of the stairs. Ooh. So he goes out on a walk in the park, and he runs into Emma. And he invites Emma over to his house for drinks, and it turns out Emma reads tarot cards. Ooh. And if you haven't figured out by now, I've sort of put together 2 and 2. Emma's probably the villain. Yeah. I mean, the good luck charm, the tarot. I mean, something is pointing really hard at Emma. While he's out, he gets a notification that someone's in his house, and he pulls up the footage. There's a shadow on the curtain in front of the door, and the shadow is the devil. I mean, literally, the shadow is the devil. So he runs home, and I have to say, this is probably the most impolite ghost I have ever seen. He messes up the bed continuously, for no reason other than to mess up the bed. I actually wrote down here, he's the demon of minor inconveniences. I'm sorry, I thought that was funny. And he calls his realtor who set him up to get into this cottage, asking, okay, does anybody else have a key? Is the landlord there? Blah, blah, blah. Nothing happens of that. So Emma comes over for their date, and he's thinking that the previous tenant keeps breaking in and messing around with things. And she tries rationalizing everything that's happened to him so far. And so she pulls out the tarot cards, and she says she's had these tarot cards for 15 years. I'm just saying, really, because they're still glossy. For those of you who don't know, the longer you have playing cards, the less glossy the finish is. It becomes more matte because of use. Good job trying to sell that one, honey. The tarot card reading really scares our guy, so he decides, this was silly, I'm sorry. I think it's about time we all wrap up anyway. It's getting late. And so he goes to sleep. It's 3 a.m. again. Who knew? Ooh. And he hears whistling downstairs. Ooh. Maybe somebody wants him to join in on the fiddle. That one was weak, wasn't it? Yeah, it was weak. Oh well. So he goes downstairs to see who's whistling, and he sees somebody in his front room, but he can't figure out who it is, and then it's just gone. So the next day he's freaked out, and he calls his friend. He's like really freaking out about what's going on. So he decides to get the good luck charm that Emma gave him, and the one that he found that's still in the trash, and he's gonna open them up and see what's in them. And inside, there's 2 parts of the same picture. of the devil. Ooh, scary. Didn't see this coming. I told you, she's the devil. Are you saying the devil lied? He decides to get a grip on himself. He's just going to stay there until tomorrow. The next day, he's going to take a train, so he's just doing chores. He goes downstairs. He hears a thump upstairs. He runs upstairs, and somebody has turned themselves into a burrito with his blankets on the bed and starts moving. And it's actually an interesting shot. And then Pogue's eating my candy. Stop it, Pogue. And then, with the magic jump cut, whatever was on the bed disappears. Ooh. So, at this point, he decides he's leaving. He's getting on the next available train back to London, but he hears a noise and he goes to investigate. And I literally wrote, stop investigating. Obviously, something's trying to scare you. So he's freaking out. And even though he said he wasn't going to stay in that house one more night, he goes to bed. Because frickin' white people. So he goes to sleep. The door opens and the camera glitches. And then there's the phantom of the hooded sweater again. And the hooded sweater phantom stabs him to death. And then, because they knew they were being filmed this entire time, the phantom goes to the camera and takes off its mask. And oh my god, it's Emma! Are you telling me she was evil this entire time? Oh my god! This movie was okay. Just okay. The story really lagged because every time something happened, he would stop the story to explain what just happened. So it took a lot longer than it should have for this story to get out. I mean, this could have easily been a 45-minute movie, but it was expanded to an hour and 10 minutes just from exposition of what's already occurred. And also the twist that came at the end wasn't really a twist, because if you know anything about movies, you saw it set up in the first act. Yeah. However, the acting on the guy's side was actually pretty decent. Emma's side, not so much. She looked like she couldn't care less, which maybe that was her entire character. I don't know, but it didn't feel genuine to me. All in all, it was okay. That's all I got about this movie. So, have you seen this movie before? What were your thoughts on it? Leave me a message down below and tell me what you think. Like I said, it will be linked below in the description, so go ahead and give it a shot. Maybe you'll like it more. Well, that's the second episode of 31 Nights of Found Horror. What else do we have in store for you this Halloween season, boys and girls? Ugh, that was weird. Oh well. Thanks for stopping by, thanks for tuning in, and come back tomorrow for more 31 Nights.